And we are live on bourbonblog.com tonight, trying some scotch because we love some good scotch, some good single malts, and the new one from Glenmorangie, A Tale of Cake. And it's my good friend, David Blackmore, brand ambassador of Glenmorangie. How's it going there, David?
It's going great, thanks, Tom. Yeah, glad to see you have a bottle as well. So that's good, right?
It's absolutely. It's a really interesting whiskey with quite a story. And I'll just have to say, you have some packaging there in front of you. The eye-catching nature of this package, it feels like, I've walked into as a pastry shop, we're having a big birthday party. It's the kind of celebration we need right now during the pandemic.
Seriously, right? I mean, to be honest, when I first saw this packaging, I thought, what? And I'm sure most of you did too. But, at the end of the day, I think Scotland, we need to maybe lighten up a little bit. And, not every single bottle of whiskey has to have heather, bagpipes, and a stag on it. We can maybe do a little bit, something a little bit different and be a bit more playful from time to time. Why not? Scotch whiskey, if it's doing its job, is putting smiles on people's faces. And that's ultimately what it's all about.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so this is, again, a very limited edition. It is, tell us the story, because I know there's this story of how the thought of cake and how you could deliver the taste in a whiskey. What's the story with this?
So actually it goes back some years to when our illustrious leader, Dr. Bill Lumsden, had just kind of transitioned from being Glenmorangie distillery manager into his kind of current role of master distiller. And he had been playing around with the idea of Hungarian Royal Tokaji casks. Hungarian Royal Tokaji is a dessert wine that is regarded by some as, even more brilliant than something like Sauterne. That's a controversial statement, but some people have said that for sure. And Bill thought, well, let's use some Hungarian Royal Tokaji casks with Glenmorangie. That time, way back when he was just being promoted and he was traveling around the world for some of the first trips as a master distiller, he admits he kind of took his eye off the ball that time, and he let it sit in the Tokaji cask too long, and frankly ruined it. He said it went from being sublime to totally over the top and ruined very quickly. So he's had his bee in his bonnet about Tokaji casks for a long time. So, determined to get it right at some point in his career. And he revisited the idea, a few years ago. And the end result is the triumphant return of Glenmorangie, this time where he really paid attention to it and got it right. So that's the kind of backstory. And Bill always said that the aroma and that he was getting at when he first tried it, when he first did it, and when it was sublime, reminded him of like a pineapple upside down cake that his grandma had baked when he was younger. So that's the idea of the tale of cake.
The tale of cake. And so that first time when he tried it, it was I guess it was never released. Is that right?
No. That just he learned. I think it's something you learn by your mistakes, and this was early in Bill's career. Relatively early in Bill's career,
right?
And we realized, with some of these experiments, you really got to watch them, or they can, older isn't better. It can go completely off the boil, so to speak.
Yeah, with a lot of these finishes, I mean, even from what I understand from distillers and from what I've tasted too, as I've gone into the distilleries, as I've tried these, the difference can be a matter of days, a week, or even less. Leaving it in too long, any whisk, whether it's a rye, a bourbon, a scotch, that finish can just overtake it. This is a perfect balance. That cake flavor is there. I mean, it's something that's not overly sweet, but the fruits are there. What else do you get on this? I mean, this is we obviously get that DNA of Glenmorangie, but it has so many more things happening in an interesting way. It's very, very unique.
You're right about it not being too overtly sweet. And I think that's partly a kind of translation thing between Scotland and the US. I suspect the cakes that Bill grew up with were considerably less sweet than a modern cake, the average modern cake these days anywhere, particularly in the States.
Sure.
So it's that kind of sponge cake And some sponge cake, the sponge can actually have it's got a butteriness to it, but it can have almost a slightly salty, savory note to it. Sometimes, the actual sponge, and it's everything else, the layers of whatever cream or fruit, and then the whatever icing you use that really provides the sweetness. So this is much more of the sponge itself than icing or anything like that. Right.
It has that sponge, and it has that Tokaji has really given itself to this whiskey and some nice creamy notes, even some tropical fruit. I mean, there's many layers on this. I
get almond. It's weirdly, I get almond almost like marzipan, something like that.
Right. It has that creaminess that the sugars that come through to me are very delicate and very subtle.
Yes. Yeah. It's not massively syrupy sweet. It's got some real complexity in there. And of course there's that pineapple note that Bill really picked up so much.
Oh yeah. And the more you taste it, the more you see that pineapple upside down cake, something that we do get them in America, but it's one of those kind of treats we might see at a family gathering. We don't see it every day.
It's old school, right? It's
cool. That's right.
Properly old school cake.
It's very old school.
Tom, I hadn't had a pineapple upside down cake, I think maybe ever, until we launched this whiskey. And I'm like, right, I need to make myself a pineapple upside down cake, see what this is all about.
Sure. So you have you only had one, or you've never had one?
I have had a couple now since
the cake.
Okay. I've sought it out and sampled a pineapple upside down cake, and I see what he's getting at for sure.
Right. You may make one this weekend then, possibly, right?
You never know. We had this partnership developed with Dominique Ansel, who is the famous genius creator of the cronut, and we worked with him on creating a particular version, his take on a pineapple upside down cake, I guess, to match with the tail of cake, and a couple of other pairings as well. And of course, that was something we were all looking forward to, being able to do a big launch at his bakery in New York and all the rest. And 2020, of course, that wasn't going to happen now. So, but still, if anyone's based in New York, I think you might still be able to get his version of the tail of cake at his bakery.
So he actually made a version of that with what did he? Do you know what he did to it?
Kind of reinvented thing. It looks like it's actually sitting on like a half a pineapple, and then there's these slices of the upside down cake standing up on top of it. It's kind of cool, that's for sure.
It's a great bakery. I've been to the one in LA. It's an amazing place, and the original cronuts and the pastries they do are incredible. What a cool thing to partner with him on this. So he kind of gave you all some guidance on the cake flavors, or what kind of guidance did he give you?
Yeah, we met with him some time ago. Bill and myself. Bill flew in from Scotland, and I came up to New York, and we met with Dominique Ansel and tasted him on the whiskey, and just chit chatted and brainstormed, and it kind of all went from there. And the two of them, clicked straight away, because, and no surprise, Bill Lumsden is often referred to as the kind of Willy Wonka of the whiskey world, and Dominique Ansel is regarded as the same in the baking world. So these two mad geniuses got on really well. That's for sure.
It's that what a fun partnership. What a delicious whiskey, and I love the original Glenmorangie you were walking us through earlier. This one is basically it's what you're used to as far as the aging, around about there from Glenmorangie.
Yeah.
Then it's in the Tokaji cask for a little while.
Obviously, I need to be a little careful, because we don't have an age statement on the bottle, and what I can legally say about it is limited. But if you're a fan of Glenmorangie, and our if you're familiar with our usual kind of finishing regime, we're not a million miles off from that here. It's not exactly the same, actually, but it's there's a bit of a tweak there. I don't think Bill would want me to talk about, but it's broadly that.
I like that. Yeah. It's beautiful. It's very deep. Not overly sweet, but something you could you could have at the end of the meal just to sip on. I mean, this is even though you see cake and you automatically think dessert from the colors, this is something that you can enjoy at any time.
Totally, absolutely, and it's so we've had 10 years, 10 years of doing the private edition range, and we decided to put that range to bed after 10 releases, 10 years. So this isn't part of the private edition range. This stands alone by itself. But in terms of the kind of number of bottles, the quantities, it's broadly that sort of quantity of limited. So it's not a numbered bottle kind of limited. We want to make something that people can actually get their hands on and get their lips on, more to the point, and taste. And we don't want it just to be flipped into another auction type of thing. We'd like people to drink it. So, but it's a one and done. It's not coming back, and hopefully it's designed to be drunk.
Oh yeah, no, it's very nice. So it's limited, but you can find it. I mean, you should be able to.
You should be,
but it won't be on the shelves always. It's something that'll be around. Right.
Given the kind of reception it's received and how we're seeing it sell, if you wait till after Christmas, you'll have a very hard time finding it.
Right. This is a perfect Christmas holiday gift, and really something fun if you're thinking about gathering with friends, or maybe you're even virtually gathering with friends. What a great thing to take to a party. Or hold on to it when you are at a party, because this is special. The price on this one is
I think it's around about $99. $99. Kind of in line with the pricing of it might even be slightly less, but it's broadly in line with the pricing of all the private editions that we've had in the past.
Excellent.
That sort of price point.
It is so tasty. A lot of people are already commenting. I am very glad I have found this, as I have a tail and cake sitting here on the shelf at the store I work at. So,
nice. Come in.
Store there. The Dragononis, if I'm saying that right, Flair, tell us where you're at. We always like to hear where you're at, and everyone else as you're watching. Tell us what you're sipping tonight, where you're at. Someone is asking if this. Steve Bull is asking if this is maybe at Binny's. Is it possible Binny's might have this?
It should be, unless it's sold out. Yes, it should be in Binny's. I know of somebody who I was talking with on another virtual tasting 2 nights ago, and I know that at least one of the audience from that tasting went to a Binny's and picked up 2 bottles yesterday morning. So it was there. Whether it's still there, be quick.
The word is spreading even after tonight. The word is spreading just how special this is.
Yeah, I've been really impressed with how people have really taken to it, because the packaging is fairly. Hi, Charlie. My son's just giving me a pet. Some reason just walked around and given me a pair of headphones.
You thought you might need those.
The packaging has in some ways been fairly intentionally a bit provocative. Wake people up, let's put a little bit of a spice back into the world of single malt whiskey. Obviously, the liquid is what really matters, but why just have dull, boring packaging? We can do something fun once in a while. Surely we're allowed to do that.
Right. No, absolutely. Yes, it is. It's fun. You guys make a lot of things fun, which we appreciate with your selections. And again, if you're just joining us, it's bourbonblog.com live. Make sure you're following that, bookmark that, and follow all the channels you're watching. And if you are interested in getting even deeper in some of our tastings, make sure you visit bourbonblog.com/at-home. We do some guided tastings. Bookmark that as well. But right now, we are tasting live with David Blackmore, A Tale of a Cake. And so this really tells a story. The whiskey has a lot of those cake notes. I'm getting some nice, I'm getting some beautiful, honeyed fruit. I mean, there's some here. There is the as you were saying, the pineapple. It's just there's a lot of cakes that I could think this tastes like, almost in that elegant pastry fashion, as you were mentioning.
I'm gonna add a dash of water to my second wee glass. This just to see what it does.
kind of opens that up. This proof. What proof are we drinking this at? Is this about?
This is 46, I believe.
46,
right? 47. No, it's 40. Yeah, 46. 46.
46. Have there been many? And I'm trying to remember. Many scotches finished in Tokai. I mean, is that something that we've seen much? I've heard about a couple of whiskey.
We're definitely not the first with this.
Right.
There have been a handful before us. I suspect if Bill's first experiment if he hadn't taken his eye off the ball, we might have been first back then. But that's immaterial. So no, we're not first with this. I hope you enjoy the whiskey, though. And there's certainly been some Tokai cask, as we were talking about before we went on air, American whiskies produced as well. And from what I've read, I haven't really tasted any of them, but from what I've read, distillers both sides of the pond, I think, would admit that Tokai casks can be, it's very easy to mess it up with a Tokai cask. You've really got to watch them. So that was, that was, Bill learned it the hard way for sure. They're not casks that are going to play easy. What's the term I'm looking for?
Right. I mean, you got to watch these because the Tokai can really take over more than maybe some other.
They really can, and the Hungarian oak, whilst it's it's European oak, but it's for whatever reason, growing in Hungary, it seems to pick up a very particular character to it. And then you add in the Tokai, it's drenched in this Tokai dessert wine, which is made in a similar way to Sauterne, botrytization of the grapes,
right.
Concentrating the sugars, blah blah blah. You're getting that richness there as well. So, but I think it's what differentiates Sauterne finishing, which Glenmorangie Bill's been doing for a long time now, and Hungarian Royal Tokai finishing is the Hungarian oak. That seems to be the awkward thing to really watch.
It just the oak does something completely different. So really is interesting with these finishes. And as you were mentioning, American whiskeys, there have been some. I know Whistle Pig tried it a few years ago. Yeah. I don't know how widely that one was released, but it is interesting to taste Tokai, and also, as you were mentioning, Sauterne finishes on whiskeys. And I would imagine there's plenty more experiments that Bill's working on now.
Yes, absolutely. I can't tell you about any of them, I'm afraid. But yes, he will openly admit to having at least 50 experiments on the go at any one time in just the Glenmorangie warehouse. And I know for a fact that's him being very, very conservative with the two. There's a lot more than that going on,
Yeah, more. There's just so many of them.
Is that me?
It might be on this end. I think it might be my Google Voice that was coming through.
I just want to make sure it's not me. And the other thing is, I apologize if my kids have decided in the whole house to go into the room right next to where I am and make a lot of noise, of course, because they know Daddy's on a thing.
It's the magic of live videos, and we're just so glad you're watching this one, trying this with us. And a few people are mentioning that they've had this before, or they've had this since it's been released, and they're really enjoying it. So this is delicious stuff. Any other news right now from Glenmorangie or Ardbeg that we might want to touch on?
There's so much I'd like to tell you, but I'm not quite at liberty to divulge yet. But there's lots in the works, particularly for Glenmorangie in the next 6 to 12 months. Lots and lots of things coming. A few things for Ardbeg as well. I think most of the Ardbeg fans will know that there was a label that leaked out because of the TTB searchable label website. That was kind of, most of us were expecting it maybe October, November, and it hasn't materialized yet. Fear not, it's not coming. It's just a few logistical issues with the way the world is right now. It will arrive at some point. Don't worry.
So there will be another Ardbeg limited edition release.
There will be another Ardbeg sometime in early in 2021.
Early in 2021. And I know when we talked to you a couple months ago, you didn't tell us, but you teased forward and said, look, we're going to have at least one more limited edition before the end of the year. So we're excited that it is cake. And And the other Ardbeg you were mentioning that leaked out, that's going to be a limited edition one as well.
That will be a limited edition. There is actually another Glenmorangie currently out there in limited releases. We haven't limited amounts. We haven't really kind of blown our trumpet about it too much. I don't even know if I've got a bottle here right now. There's a Malaga, 12-year-old Malaga wood finish.
Wow.
Which is out. If you're lucky, you might find that here and there. Not very much of it in retail across the US. So keep your eyes peeled for that too. But the big one for this year, the thing we were so excited about definitely was the Taylor Cake.
Taylor Cake is beautiful. It's a great story. It's an amazing bottle. I highly recommend this. It just takes those whiskey flavors that we've come to know and love from Glenmorangie to another level, and takes you into the realm of cake, into sweets, but not overly sweet. It just has this wonderful creaminess about it. It goes so many places. A lot of people messaging now. Bob Howell says, "Hello, Dave, one of my favorite people."
He usually is never quite so polite in person.
And he does say Glenmorangie cake is fantastic. So
cheers, Bob.
Cheers, Bob. Everybody has to check this out. And the Wee Beastie, how's that been going? I know that one.
Yeah, so Ardbeg Wee Beastie, our 5-year-old Ardbeg. You probably couldn't think of a whiskey much more different than a Tale of Cake. It's kind of a sprightly, somewhat aggressive Ardbeg that we thought would be fun to allow people to see what Ardbeg was like, as close to the still as possible, almost.
Yeah.
We have the luxury of being able to taste Ardbeg New Spirit White Dog off the still and watch it progress as it makes its way towards the 10-year-old. And we thought it'd be fun. It's never going to replace the 10. It's going to be its own thing there at 5. But just a slightly less well polished, slightly naughtier Ardbeg, maybe with a few rough edges and a sprightly vigor to it. That's for sure. Yeah. It's fun. It's an interesting whiskey for sure.
I really enjoyed it. I loved when we got together with the men who blog Man Tripping and did the tasting. I think it's really fun to try them next to each other and to really see just how much more of a difference age can make. I mean, I think that's the story that it really helps you tell, to see, they're both really beautiful in their own way, but here's what 5 years can do. Here's what 10 years can do.
Absolutely.
It's and the name too is so much fun.
Yeah. Wee Beastie, kind of what I might in sort of Scottish slang, I guess, refer my son as if he keeps interrupting and dropping things.
His nickname, he's the Wee Beastie.
He's a little monster, that's for sure.
Well, this is quite a pleasure indeed, tasting the A Tale of a Cake Glenmorangie. Definitely need to, if you're wanting to try it, look for a bottle online or at your favorite spirit shop before the end of the year, if not sooner, because once it's gone, it's gone. And this is not something you plan on releasing every year, right? It's kind of a one and done.
Yep, absolutely. And I've taken that to heart. I've purchased quite a few myself just to hoard. So I have it. So I still have some to drink in a year from now. That's the idea. it's like when the new married couple keeps a slice of their cake in the freezer. You're keeping the cake, but in your cellar there. Yeah, absolutely. It's funny you say that. Aren't you supposed to keep your wedding cake like slices of it for like 10 years? Something like it's like you freeze like the top. They usually make a top layer for you, and then you keep it. I think my wife and I, we may have had like the rest of it the next year or something. Do you still have some in your freezer? No, our wedding cake. We had a great wedding. We had quite a booze-ridden wedding, as you can imagine. Given that I work in the industry, and a lot of people that came to the wedding worked in the industry, in the industry as well. But maybe that's the reason that our cake somewhat collapsed even before it was time to cut it. We went over to look at it, and it just kind of slid off. Somebody didn't knock in. Did they run into it? I honestly don't know. But at that point, we were all having so much fun. We laughed merrily at how the cake had collapsed, and just carried on with the evening. So that is your tale of cake. Yeah, I think so. Actually, it's a good point. I hadn't thought about that. Yeah, it was a fun wedding. We got married in a Revolutionary War era barn in Connecticut. Wow. I'm Scottish. My wife's Jewish. you figure out the incompatibilities of the traditions. When I'm supposed to wear a kilt, au naturel, but I'm also supposed to be sat on a chair and hoisted up and paraded around over the heads of everybody in the room. So yes, it was.
So you combined those two with the kilt then.
Yes. Yeah, it was the only time I have resorted to wearing something under the kilt. Was that that moment?
It was probably a good idea.
Probably a good idea, right?
Oh man, Dave, it's always so much fun chatting with you, and I'm so glad we have so many great viewers. Definitely, if you did catch this video midstream, we're going to keep it up permanently: YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. So go back and watch this. Share with your friends, your family. Show our tale of the cake that we've been tasting tonight. And if you just want to listen to it, or if you just like to listen to podcasts, because I know a lot of people are listening to those, especially now, sign up for our podcast. It's right there. This will be uploaded to our podcast later tonight, the audio of this. And Dave, always a pleasure to see you, my friend. I'm glad to hear things are going so well there at Ardbeg and Glenmorangie.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me back. I appreciate it. And cheers to everybody out there as well for listening in.
Cheers, and pick yourself up a bottle of this. You all are going to really enjoy this tale of the cake. Cheers, David, and cheers, everyone.
Cheers, man. Cheers, Tom. Thanks.
Thank you, David.